Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. So David DeCastro has been dropped by the Steelers, and I don't know how to feel about this because your first reaction is go out and get him. Go out and get him. He is an all-pro level guard. He's at the very least a Pro Bowl level guard at this stage in his career. He was someone that I was looking at for the Giants to be drafting when he was coming out. He was an offensive lineman I liked a lot. But at this point, he's getting a little bit older. He's definitely getting a little bit older and a little bit more injured. And the Steelers released him probably because of an ankle injury that he's contemplating retirement about. So if he's contemplating retirement and he's an all-pro level player, Pro Bowl level player, and then on top of that, the Steelers, who have the most information about him medically, personally, decide to release a player like that and not put him on IR, not put him on any list or anything, and then immediately sign a guy who the Giants fans have been looking at as an option in Trey Turner. The thing about Trey Turner is in 2020 he had an absolutely horrendous season. His season was not good last year, but people are counting on him to return back to being the player that he was before the 2020 season. I think he was dealing with some injuries. But bringing it back to DeCastro, if the Steelers released him, that means that they probably know that that ankle is not healing right, or that he's probably told them that I'm probably going to retire. And maybe they release him for whatever reason. I don't know. But when you're asking, should the Giants sign David DeCastro, I'm really not sure about it. One, because I don't have a medical staff. I'm not an NFL team, and I don't know. I don't know how his ankle is doing. I don't know if maybe he just said he's thinking about retirement, and he could be back on another team and playing back at that same all-pro level in no time. So I think if you want to look at signing David DeCastro, the first thing you have to look at is the money. I think Trey Turner signed for about $2 or $3 million, something like that in that neighborhood. I wouldn't don't fact check me on that, or fact check me on it, because make sure it's true. But I don't think it is. But it was somewhere in that neighborhood of $1 to $3 million a year. I'm pretty sure, a 1-year deal. So they signed him for that. And David DeCastro last year was a much better player than Trey Turner, much better. But he's coming off of an ankle injury that is making him contemplate retirement. So I don't anticipate someone wanting to spend any more than $3 or $4 million, maybe $5 or $6 million this year on David DeCastro, and it would have to be a 1-year deal. So I'm thinking the Giants, for them to even think about this, especially with the cap space they're working with, it would have to be on that lower end, about $3 or $4 million. Do I think that we have that money to kind of just throw towards a player that we don't know if he'll play or not? I really don't. But if the Giants look at this guy and he's even in their building because he wants to play, then maybe you can justify that. Maybe you can justify that, paying that $4 or $5 million for a 1-year deal. And maybe this is his last year in the league. Who knows? But I would definitely look into it. I wouldn't just shut the idea down because of all of these other things going around and that he may retire. If we hear reports all the time, but if the Giants reach out to David DeCastro and he's interested in playing, which means he actually answers their call, he actually comes in for a workout, and the medical staff says he's good to go, his ankle should be healed by blah, 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 week 2, week 3, or whatever. Absolutely take a shot at it. Assuming that the money is right, assuming that everything else is right, absolutely, why not take a shot at it? Because David DeCastro is better than any offensive line we have. Andrew Thomas had a horrible first half of the season last year. He was not good. It was a disaster. And then, of course, Mark Colombo got fired. Joe Judge himself is changing Andrew Thomas's technique. And all of a sudden, Andrew Thomas starts to look like a really good player. And we hope that he continues to develop in that way. He's got a third offensive line coach in Rob Sale this year, so we'll see how that works out. Hopefully, Rob Sale can build off of the concepts that Joe Judge kind of installed in him and continue to build off of that and allow Andrew Thomas to ascend to hopefully a Pro Bowl tackle this year. We took him with the top 5 pick. So hopefully he ends up being that Pro Bowl level tackle. Next to him, we don't know. We don't know who's going to play next to Andrew Thomas. He played well next to Shane Lemieux. That is a fact. Their chemistry was very good with picking up stunts and all kinds of twists and games, whatever you want to call them. They were very good picking those stunts up. Shane Lemieux, however, was horrible and just straight up pass blocking. He gave up 5 sacks. According to Pro Football Focus, I haven't watched every snap of Shane Lemieux, and I mean, I've seen a bunch of snaps of him, but I haven't seen every snap to be able to know exactly which sacks were his fault. But I do know in some of the plays that I've seen that Shane Lemieux has absolutely gotten whooped, and people have just come through, and he hasn't been able to really protect. So at the end of the day, Shane Lemieux is a liability in the pass game. Nick Gates, I feel really good about. I feel really good about Nick Gates. I like him in the run game. I like him in the pass game. Pro Football Focus doesn't like him very much, but when I see Nick Gates on a snap-to-snap basis and I look at his tape, I don't have many problems with Nick Gates. Other than that, Will Hernandez, people think that he'll play right guard this year. I think he's a solid player, and if you have 5 Will Hernandezes, people that are his caliber of talent, I think you have a 23rd ranked offensive line. But he's not going to change things for the rest of the offensive line. And then at right tackle, we have Matt Parrott and Nate Solder. So whoever wins that battle, you think will probably be a league average, or you would hope so, at least slightly below a league average right tackle. So we have a bunch of guys who are average, okay, we feel good about, but you have to have at least one dominant guy. So we're dependent on Andrew Thomas or Nick Gates to be that dominant guy, or both. But we already have, David DeCastro would already be that dominant guy that makes every single one of those offensive linemen better. So taking that risk, paying them $4 or $5 million, I think might be worth it. The Giants should definitely look into it if he can pass injury-wise, and if he actually takes the interview and he actually wants to play football. I think you should definitely explore it. So should we look at David DeCastro? If we're looking at him, I think that if he steps foot in the building, I think at that point he's worth probably bringing in at the right price. If he's asking for 7, 8, 9 million, I just don't think that's worth it. So you guys let me know what you think of possibly bringing in David DeCastro. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.